Hi, I'm Tracey Windmill.
I'm Joe Lavin, and we are reshooting the first 5 minutes of our webinar because I forgot to press record.
Oops.
Yeah, webinars for the International Massage Association. It's a master class, and our master class is called
Multidirectional Techniques and Leveraged Flows.
And we'll start in a minute. Tracey should say what she's starting with, but I do want to say that one of the exciting things about this hour and a half, 40-minute webinar is that we got to really talk about more of our principles and our philosophies on touch and massage towards the end in the Q&A. And we don't get that often, I think, in our videos online. We're mostly technique teaching. So I'm excited about that. Tracey is just going to tell you how she's starting, and then we'll go to the other video.
So the little smidgen that got missed was talking about the natural openings that occur underneath the body. So much of this work incorporates like the therapist reaching underneath the body and how that is achieved through, just the natural openings of the body, which, behind the ankles, behind the knees, underneath the lower back, underneath the neck. So you'll see me like that'll be the very first move that you'll see. And then I'll transition straight into how you can turn over your client from supine to prone.
Great. We'll see you on the other side.
A really nice natural opening there for your hand to come through. And, you can definitely move the client a little bit as well. So today I thought I would show you guys how I would turn a client over from supine into the prone position. And while I said earlier, that's me as a therapist, that's my end goal. If I don't make it all the way there, meaning if the client doesn't, turn over in a very natural, unraveling kind of way, I'm not going to fight it, and I'm also not going to go really fast. Like Joe mentioned, this is actually probably going faster than I normally would with a client, just because we only have a couple of hours and it's a lot of information. So, a little bit faster work than I would do normally. So once again, I'm coming in underneath the body, and here you can see I'm using the client's skeleton. So I've got her hip bone right in my hand, and I'm just pulling her a little bit towards me. But while I'm here, I've got an opportunity. I can work on both sides of the body at once. My hand underneath right here is actually working on her big QL muscle underneath. And I'm simply doing that by my forearm is on the table and I'm raising my wrist up and my hand up into the muscle mass. And because Bertie mentioned that it's her upper body, neck and shoulders, in between the scapulars. So I've just got my hands in the mass of the rhomboids, the trapezius muscle. And her arm is just in the crook of both of my forearms here. And slowly here, I'm just moving her towards this side of the table. But there's no rush. I'm wanting to do a little bit of therapeutic work as well. And I'm just gently exploring her range of motion on this side. Coming through where there's an opening. Gently moving her towards me. On the sternum, a little bit of compression here always feels really, really nice. remembering for yourself to work within the scope of where your location allows to work on the client. I'm really mindful of keeping my thumb nice and tucked in on the chest. Feel it? There's a little rib adjustment. Mm-hmm. Once again, just underneath the opening at the lower back, sliding her a little towards me, working on the big QL muscles on both sides. I can even do a little bit of tummy work here. I could get up into diaphragm, working the Britta's breath, and not going fast. I like to keep in contact with the client, so as I'm moving from one part of the body to the other, I'm making sure there's some nice contact. And here, I've crossed the ankles, and now like another hinge of the body is the knees, and I'm simply pressing her away from me. The knees come up. But here I've got glutes available to work on. If this feels a little too far away, I can always get with one knee on the table to get closer to the client. Here I could do some nice oppositional movement. So I've got these nice hinges of her hips and her knees. I can be pushing a little bit like away on the knees. And then I have all these attachments. Iliacus, the psoas muscle here to work on as well. So as Joe mentioned, it looks really nice and elegant. And it might not for everyone at first. It didn't for me at first. But there's also a lot of therapeutic value happening here. I'm working a lot of different muscles. Yeah, they're open and available to me, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And like I said, while my end goal might be one thing, it might not be with the client's body. So I'm always at all times assessing, you know, her range of movement and yeah, how her body is moving. Coming underneath again. And gradually coming up to the top of the body. Once again, I've got another nice opportunity. Here, if you like some sternum work, I can do a little traction in the neck. And while I've already given some attention over here to her left shoulder, you know, I don't want to forget about this right shoulder over here. So if there's not a big opening in the body to get underneath, I can create one myself. So here we go. I've just moved her arm over, and then I've got all of this space here in between her scapula and her spine to work on. And like, you know, it's very easy for me. I'm not holding the weight at all. It's just by moving the client's body. And my top hand is just simply a really nice guide. You'll see me do a lot of like, I'll hold it, you know, once again, out the hinges of the body. So the wrist, or I might lock elbows with the client. And the top hand is working as the guide. And my bottom hand is the one that's doing the work. And here I can definitely come down into the rib cage. I've got the whole upper arm here available to work on as well. And I'm really working on unraveling the client's body. Like, you know, it is the guide telling me which direction I'm going in. And here, I can actually scoop up Britta's head. I can place her hand underneath the base of her skull, and I've got her arm tucked up in this nice secure position here. And it just opens up this whole side of the body. So once again, I can take advantage of it, working underneath the body. I could be working on both sides of the body. I can even come down here. We didn't give this leg a lot of attention before. There can also be some really nice head work in here, moving all that fascia on the skull. Feels so good. A little sinus work there. Can come back to the sternum. I don't know if you guys heard before, but yeah, one of Britta's ribs, you know, pop back into place. I'm coming underneath the waist again, the lower back, just moving her a little towards this edge of the table over here. There's a bony landmass there. The hip bone is what I'm grabbing onto. I'm going to come up underneath the shoulders. And my hand is really going to kind of land my armpit area. Fingers nice and gently cupping that area. I'm going to do a nice elbow hold over here. And then I'm simply just going to pull her all the way off the table. It's a really big, yummy side opening stretch here for this underneath side of the body. And then, yeah, she organically just turns. The face hasn't landed in the face cradle, but I'm not too concerned about that right now. She's just got her head turned to the side. Once again, coming in where there's a nice opening underneath the ankles. It's a really nice hinge with the knees here. I can roll the hips really, really easily. This is so effortless on my part. I can roll the feet towards me. That gives me underneath the hip area to work on. It can be a sensitive area. So making sure that, yeah, clients are ticklish or, you know, just sensitive in this area. So being really mindful of that. This will also shift the hips. So here I cross my ankles a little bit. I just move her towards me. I've got her hips a little bit more centered in the middle of the table now. And it hasn't been this big efforting on my part. You can definitely even have a really nice opening on the front here. And not just moving from one area to the body to move her up the table. There's opportunity to work different muscle groups, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Here I can slide my hands right underneath the the joint at the top of the arm. Place my hands up on the rib cage and just ask her to raise her head just a little bit. And there we go, facing the face cradle. So nothing was rushed. Yeah, taking my time, unraveling the body, like, you know, as Britta's body is letting me. There's, you know, sometimes that can take a good 20 minutes or so. There's all these opportunities in sideline to work on the body, to work on the parts of the body that the client has asked for, to do some expansion and opening. They're all there to take advantage of.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of probably just do an opposite, show you how I'll work with the body, turn it and move it. The biggest things are you really want to make sure that you are in a good shape for this, that you're bracing yourself. I'll kind of walk through some things. But the reason why I do so much movement in my work is it's a movement background for me. I'm coming out of jiu-jitsu and yoga and stuff. But it's very hard for me to assess my client when there's just in one position and I'm pressing down on them. I want to feel their body move, rotate, catch things and see where movements actually get stopped or slowed down versus trying to guess. So I take a lot of opportunities to work three-dimensionally. And I use, right now I'm just using shea butter. I love Jiva's Myo Rub. But all my work is based on the fact that I'm barely moving on the skin. So I don't slip or fall. I've got just very little lotion, so a lot of viscosity. And so everything's really deep, even if it just looks kind of like a slow, loamy run. It's actually really deep. I'm going to have to adjust my own camera here a little bit. There we go. So I like to come down the legs, let's say. There's a concept of torque and torsion. Torque is when I'm rotating the bones around an axis or moving the bones. Torsion is when I'm kind of just working on muscle. But I might come under the trochanter and come up here during the run for this long kind of loamy flow. But what I'll do to make it challenging when I come under is I'm under the table, my forearm gets here. I'm going to put my hand in the rib cage, not the floating rib, but the actual stable part. And as I go through, I kind of use torque to bring the body up and come back and set it down. So I'm always trying to get something extra out of it when I can in the joint, in the body. I may come under here, decide to work under the shoulder and move her neck, move her shoulder over here. Just try to see how her body's going to react to that. Everything's connected. We all know that. And so I'm trying to see how this affects something else. I can get really tall. I can be really heavy here. I can do great trigger point work here. So it sets up a lot of really deep stuff, but it's also going to be kind of nice and undulating. One thing I might do is kind of like not a first time, probably first client move, but if I'm working on someone like Britta or someone from the ballet or something, I know they're very flexible. I might come in here, and I'll show this on the other side too if it doesn't work out, but I'll work across the body and I'll work under the shoulder. Got some scap work here, can pull the pec, nice big breath. And then I'm gonna rotate her over me. I don't want to yank. I don't want to be a power move. I want to be elegant. So I come up like I'm pitching a World Series pitch. I'm kind of leaning on her. Nice big breath. I just start to fall, and she'll just come with me. Super easy. I can get a lot of deep work done in here. Come under here. I can bring the arm up. Work lat, triceps. I can work tummy work in here. I can bring her all the way over for just really extreme work. And if I'm worried about the draping on the client, I can have a drape here, or I'm going to set you back in here. When I pull her up, I don't know if you can see this well, but I can just grab the bottom sheet, put it under like that. Nice deep inhale. When I pull her up, she's fully draped. Do all that work with the drape. So however you want to work, you can get that done. We'll show you more of that. When I want to set her back, I don't want to lift her with my muscles, my arms. I want to use my body. So maybe I'll stand up, which raises her body, and just kind of lower her into there. Let her go. Let her go. Do a lot of nice stuff with that. And I'm really after, you can't hear Britta, but she's kind of like, she's purring every now and then, which is awesome. But I'm trying to get this nervous system just to let me do these things without it catching, without it waking up. And when I get that response to the body, they're very relaxed. I can really feel the muscles let go. I can do some great work. Come out here. So down to the legs, lower body. Get the lower camera here. I want to get under the thigh, right? And we talk about these access points, and there's not really an access point here per se. And so I got to create one. The way that I create it is by getting a little bit of my balm and just opening up an access point so I can pull a strip of balm down there. Then I come out here and I get a strip of balm, and eventually I'll get to the point where I've got balm on the whole front of the leg. And then we have a nice topper on here, so it gives me room to go under. And so when I'm working, let's just say up here, I can push down on the topper. It gives me that room, and I'm going to lift just a tiny bit here, and it lets me come all the way through. You see the fingers here, and I'll do three-dimensional kind of ringing work coming down. Come under. I can really come under, and if I pop the first knuckles into the table, it brings these up, so I'm not making a kind of a claw, and I can really challenge how we're doing and pull down that main quad, come out. I like to move things around. A lot of stretching, but I do a lot of like kind of tie stretches, but a lot of Swedish work or good dragging work while I'm doing those. Maybe I want to see how this hip moves and rotates or challenge it. So I'll come out, and I'm just gonna inside of the knee. My fingers are just gonna tap like this, and I'm gonna go with the hip's natural movement. If it doesn't move, I don't force it. I'm just gonna see what I get. She moves pretty good, and then I'll come up and I'll use my hip pocket, the anterior hip part here, to kind of stabilize right here, either one, and I can actually kind of get that hip to pop up. Now I can pull down on the hip, push up in the low back, stretch that key well. I do a lot with my body, distending and pushing in, distracting hip, coming up. I can work up tall, come out IT band, work around and turn. A lot of times when you're going through the piriformis and stuff, it always activates because you're really kind of being really pointy and isolated on it. But if I straighten this elbow out right here as I go through, I can get through almost all the time with nothing. Even if the client has a hard time working there, they straighten the elbow out and kind of hold the heel and push. The nervous system just allows me that work, so I take it, come up. If I really want to challenge somebody, I'll go up higher with the knee. Not wanting to lift, not wanting to use my muscles to get this done. I'm just going to take my thigh and kind of push her knee with a tiny lift. And she just goes up. Now I've got a whole different kind of angle, different trigger points, do a lot of different work. I can drop back, bring the foot out, and then my thigh's going to come right in the main arch, and I can take it a little further. How are we doing, Britta? And I work with Britta a lot, so I know these are really places she can get pretty easy. Do some work here. Another thing I can do is when it's back here, let's say I wanted to open up her anterior hip and do some work in there. And as a linebacker, I do not feel like lifting, right? So I want to be really careful. I'm gonna use my leg again. I'm just kind of lift up my leg and lift me up. And I'm gonna kind of sit on the table. So I just sort of lift a little bit. I sit on the table. I pull her over. And now I've got a lot of stuff I can do. I can traction out that hip, and pull, access point here, really easy. So I can come under, pull my hands together and really pull. Body weight's doing this, not my muscles. So get that done. I'm doing good. And you can just find all sorts of ways to work in here. You can come in and really start to get down the back of the leg, right in the joint itself. You do the work. I can do some good patella work, knee work, just whatever opens up there. And I go into this with an idea, but what I end up doing is what the body wants me to. So our massage unfolds with the body. So if this is working good, I'm going to do it. If it's resisting, I'm going to try something else. So I'm looking for opportunities as they come up, but I'm not trying to force my will. These big techniques and moves really need to be for her, not about like what we can show off or whatever. So we're really trying to make sure that we're listening to their body, doing things well, not making the nervous system mad at us. I do a lot of locks. So my background is years of jiu-jitsu, is a floor wrestling kind of thing. A lot of my massage techniques come out of that. So I'm locking a lot. So I'm finding lots of places that I don't have to use my arms to hold things. So my hands are free to work while I have control of the body. We go through that a lot in our classes. But when you don't have to worry about lifting with your hands or pulling things, you can do a lot of really cool work that you would not otherwise be able to do. So we just learn to handle the body really well. Everything's a ceremony. Nothing is a throwaway. So I'm going to put this leg back, and instead of just kind of going like whatever, I'm going to be really thoughtful about bringing it back. So I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to put some pressure on both sides. I'm going to pull. I'm going to come back, set it in, and then I'm going to kind of set it on the table and sort of paste it there, right? Just honoring every body part that I'm at, letting the client have just total knowledge that I will not go too far, not going to stretch too far, not going to push too hard. Let our nervous system relax. So, see what else I'll show you. I'm going to show you a twist, and then so we'll be done with our demos like about 9ish, and what we're hoping is you have questions that we can just demonstrate different stuff, so we're not talking to a box. So make sure if you have stuff you want to see Tracey do or you want to talk to us about, you throw it in those comments. We do the webinars and not the meetings because we can control these 4 screens, so it's harder to talk with you, but you get a much better product afterwards to see how the work is done. So I'm going to show you maybe how I flip a client, and I might switch sides. We'll see how this works. But when I do this, this is like one of these, this is a signature of my massage. Not many people do it. When I do it, clients, they smile. It's just one of these things they did not expect. And it's a technique, but it's got so much great work in it. So I'm going to kind of show you the work I do. This would take me 15 minutes in a massage. Ours massages are usually about 90 minutes, 2 hours. We have time to let them unfold. But I want to make sure that I don't rush this. It doesn't feel like a gimmick if I'm going to do it. So I'm going to work on my client, see how they're doing, get ready to turn. And then what I want to do is I want to bring the knees together because I need them together to get this turn the right way. And so I come down here and I'm just going to lift and then immediately rotate. So I'm just going to come up a little bit, bring that knee in a little bit, so it's just lined up better in the center. And then I'm going to come over here. Same thing, lift, little bit, rotate, little bit together. So they're coming together. So when I come down here to grab these feet, they're nice and together. They're not crisscross, the knee pops out. I'm going to bring them up. I'm going to support these, the inside of the ankles all the way up here under my shoulder. So again, I'm not using my hands to control that per se. I come up, I can do some back work, I can do some stretching. A lot of the times what we want to do when we're doing something, especially if it's just unexpected, we don't want to just do it. We want to see, we want to make sure that the body knows something's coming. So I'm going to rotate her in a minute. But if I just rotate her, I'll get a gasp and like, you know, the body system will tighten up. So I'm going to kind of sort of nudge. So I'm going to roll a little bit, come out. I want to roll this way. So I'm telling the body what I'm going to do. Nice big breath for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap the knees and I'm going to push the hip up. If you push the hip in, nothing good happens. You've got to go with the natural rotation of the hip. So I come down a little lower, just tap here, push up, and the body folds. And Arnold Schwarzenegger folds. This is a natural fold. It's not because I'm strong. If I'm doing that and I get resistance, I don't do the flip because that she doesn't have lateral rotation. I don't want to go there. But I'm always, all bodies, when you do that, will just fold. It's not hard. Then I come up here and I'll do a lot of piriformis work. I'll work on that trochanter, work all around that. I like to get between the hip and the ribs again, separate them, come up, do a lot of stuff, just technical word stuff. But a lot of this is the torsion. A lot of this is all tissue. This is not necessarily joints, but I'm really trying to like saltwater tapping. Just make sure all this tissue's stretching the way I want. And then I'm going to come around the body and all the way around working, doing something. She's pretty flexible. The biggest problem people have with this is usually this shoulder. And so what I want to do as soon as I can is just bring it off the table. I'll do work here, come around. So this is a lot of torque, pulling the rib cage, pushing in the back of the chest. I'm going to come under. This is a natural kind of access point, but it can still get pinchy in there. So I really want to, if you don't have a topper, you really want to do some lifting. If you have a nice cushy thing here, you can get under there really easy. And so I'm trying to make sure that I don't get any dry skin or drag. And so I'm going to make my way under there and come under. A big thing to watch is that my thighs are on the table. Almost every lift I do around the table, my thighs are anchored here, because if I'm doing it from the ground, from my feet, this is like a big suspension bridge and it's really tall. But I cut the suspension bridge in half when I throw my thighs here. And now all the torque on my low back is from here up. It's much easier to do. So I'm locked in really nice and tight there. I'm coming under. And here I'm going to do some work. I'm going to push away. I'm going to come in and thumb down the medial board of the scap. I might come through and pull that pec a couple times. And then what I have is an anchor here. So the anchors are things we call that make it just hard for us to do what we're going to do. So if I try to pull her right now, that's a lot of dead weight. It's a lot of resistance on the table, and it's hard. So I want to make sure, and we call it bring the anchor up anywhere. Doesn't have to be pretty. Sitting there. And I'm going to go nice big inhale. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring my hand here. It's kind of more wrist than fingers. And the reason why I think I teach this way is when I have my fingers here, people tend to think it's a gravity thing and they're pulling. And I don't want them to do that. I want them just to lift the body up a little bit. My back is going to be hinged at my hips. My back is not going to flex. It's going to stay straight. I come down here and I just grab this elbow down here and I'm going to kind of lift it straight up. And so I go nice big inhale. And I'm only trying to get a 1/4 inch clearance here. Back is straight, step down, nice inhale for me. Bring her up. Oh, you're helping me. You don't have to help me. That's funny. She doesn't help her out, but she helped me that time. So I came up, and so I'm just going to lift her. And this arm, I'm just going to barely clear that. That's all that's happening. Bring her all the way over. I like to make it good, so I push and yummy and work. There's so much more information in the body in this position than flat on their back or on their stomach or even sitting up. Just feeling how it rotates, how she sits, watching the face all the time, watching the crow's feet for excitement, trying to see if I can see a pulse in the neck or breath, just making sure I'm always in sync with her, coming around, everything's consistent, doesn't feel like I'm I'm going to a technique. It's just part of the work. I do want to make sure the hands are out. So make sure that my groin clears those hands. And I come around, again, back into some good work. Torquing the hip out and the top of the rib cage in. So I'm using that a lot. Come down here. There's a couple ways. I want to pull her hip and actually her whole midline of the body about here. Some people I can just pull right here and they'll come over. Others I use a knee and a hip. The main thing is that they'll try to help you out and throw themselves over. I'm trying to make sure and get her before she does that. So I'm going to pull her hip and under the knees. So I want to make sure that my hand gets under the knee so I can just pull and not have to grab it. So I'm going to, again, create space by coming behind the back of the knee, lifting a tiny bit. So this hand gets right under the knee and it's just sitting there. This hand comes behind the hip. Nice big breath for me. My legs in the air, so my body weight's going to do this. And I just pull back. And that's about where I want her. Then I'll hold and I'll come up and do some more work again. I love it when clients flop. Some clients, these legs will come off the table. They'll flip all the way over there. And that's awesome. That's where the body wants to be. I'll pick them up wherever they are and we'll get them back to the table. In the end, if I can't, if I feel like I have to lift too hard or the client's just too out of shape, say, okay, pop yourself up in the face crest. I don't need to get this done. And more important is what I'm doing right now in the middle of it than where I'm trying to get to. So it's not always a goal. It's not the journey. It's not the goal. It's the journey, something like that. Come around. I want to keep a hand on my client because they can move. They can fall off. She started her legs dragging off a little bit there. And so if I just keep a good hand on them, then I know that they're going to be okay. She's already kind of a little cattywampus. I might want to fix that. So maybe I put a knee up here, hold the hip, and just come out. Small thing, dumb thing. I don't want to grab. I want to come under and just lift, right? I don't want to come here and do this stuff because that's controlling. It just sends the nervous system in a different signal that I want to send it. So whenever I can, I lift, pull, get her back a little bit. And then I'm going to come under eventually, get here. And again, I've got my knees locked on the table. She's pretty far over. I still feel okay. If she was a little bigger shouldered, I may have a knee up here for this one because I really don't want to hurt my low back doing this. I want to make sure that I'm safe because I can't work on my client if I'm not safe. I'm going to come under here. And what I want to do is I want to pin this arm here so the shoulder gets trapped. So when I pull this shoulder, I get this nice cross thorax stretch, really nice thing. So I come in here, doing some work. She's a little farther over. So I'm going to bring her a little bit over a little bit. I might push his shoulder, nice big breath for me. And thumbs going down the neck, creating that long line. And a lot of tension on the neck from the shoulder. I'm stretching. This arm's going to hit me in the face in a minute. I know that, so I'm really careful. Just let it come, make sure I catch it. Nice long pull. I do a lot of work here. A lot of things I can kind of try to figure out, but I'll just keep going with the turn. Okay. A lot of times if I have the knees, I'll get a little more turn of the knees. I'll get this nice stretch in here, right? Just try to get some work. So a couple things here. She's a little high. Her neck's back. Like this client is totally fine. I kind of like her in some positions where she's gravitationally challenged. The biggest thing here, which is probably what you want to focus on, is can I get her hips centered and down with gravity, or do I need to ask her for help? And I'm going to come under her knees like this. And when your client's on the table, when this part is in contact with the table, that's an anchor. You can't rotate them. If you just pull those hips forward, and this is the pivot point, you can spin them on the table. So I'm just trying to get her off of her like sit bones onto her superior crest. And so then I can come in and go, I can come in and put her where I want her. All right. So I'm going to push her in the middle, do some work, come over here. I'm going to go under her neck and I'm going to push her forward. The big thing here is I always want to be, wherever I'm working, I want to get this shoulder level with the work. So if I come in like this, I'm lifting, I can hurt myself. It's lots of extra effort. But I'm going to come in and get on one knee. I'm going to come under. And for the first part of it, I'm going to slip under, but then I'm going to catch her with either this part of the forearm or the bicep, and I'm going to push her that way. But it's going to be body weight and simple. So I come under, and this all is feeling great. Like this is a very yummy thing. That's why it's slow. So I'm coming under, I'm slipping. You might see the second, my thumb over here. My thumb is going to catch the top of that shoulder. That's a catch. I'm going to let that go because I want my bicep. And then I'm going to step up a little bit and just push her. The nice neck bend out of it. Come back. I can slip out, or as I come back, I can go for some neck openings. I'm just using the body weights. It's all different ways of slipping under or not. She's kind of a little on this side, so maybe I'll come to the waist. And for this, I put a tiny bit. I don't use oil very much, but to slip, I do. So I use a little oil there. I drop in. I'm equal. There's my hand. And I don't want to lift and push, so I'm going to trust that my bicep is going to do the work. So I'm just going to come in, lean, and push. I can pull her. I can push her. My hand down here is helping a little bit. Maybe I pull down for a little bit of that. Okay. They come down. Sometimes if I can't get them there, I just come down here, grab the ankles, use a towel if you have to, set a knee onto the table. You see that somewhere, and just pull a little bit, whatever that is. Come up. As I'm coming up, I'm touching her. I'm doing good contact here on the shin, and I don't break and come up and then reinitiate contact, because I'd be there. I felt her kind of go like, oh, he's here. So I want to stay with contact, make a little contact on the way up, and a little contact. So it's all the body's like, oh, there he is. There, I know where he's at. Everything's good. Okay. So here, especially if you have a bolster, you've got this natural way in. So you're working on the quad coming up, and that's work we all do. But I want to usually oppose that work somehow. All my work, by the way, is gravitational, so I try not to do this and push with bicep, tricep. I try to have my hips come forward, hips come back. Let me get this camera set up for you a little better, sorry. So all my work is from here, right? Big leg is pushing up the body, butt's falling backwards. So it's just very easy, very little pressure. The only time I'm releasing muscles is if I'm going two different ways, like coming across. One is going to be me pulling, the other is going to be my muscle working just naturally. But I'll try to go with the heaviest force with my forward hip motion or back hip motion. So I'm coming under here. What I like to do is you get right above the hip, around the QL area. I'm going to pull down her spine, out her hip as I come across. When I go into tummy, I turn my hand over a lot of the time. This is kind of intruder alert. If they're not ready, this hand just bounces. This hand just bounces off nice and easy. So when I come in, it's easy. So I'm going to pull the hip. I'm going to cross, come out. And now I'm really extended. So for me to get a lot of pressure here, it's all this effort. So I really got to make sure I get up over my arm. So what I do next works. Is that the things that are important for me is to, sometimes techniques are the worst thing we can learn because we're so focused on this technique that we lose ourselves in the middle. The best part of my practice is what I bring to it. The best part of your practice is what you bring to it. I might have a great technique from John Smith. It's the John Smith, whatever, but it's how I do it. So if I just focus on how Joe shows me to twist his body with my body size and my limb length, it may not work. So we'll show you that. But in class, what we try and do is we try to make you solve that question yourself. So if you ask that question, you'd answer it, and you'd be like, why did I ask this question? But we make you kind of, how do I do it? Do I lift up here? Do I push over? And if you learn how to do stuff on your own, then you can figure anything out. So we'll show you, but we're more interested in the process than in the technique, if that makes sense. Inner thigh, let's just show that because that's kind of hard for some people. There's a couple of great ways to get there. I'll do everything where I come up, bring the leg up and over, settle in, push over, nice full body twist, maybe even an assisted full body twist if I want to get up there. I'll go around that side, work on the piriformis stuff, and I come back here. When I come back here, I set her down. Let's see if I can get this. It's probably this top camera. So my leg is 90 degrees across the table, and if I have a sheet here, I pull the sheet so the sheet hugs this hip, so no matter what I do, it doesn't ever gap, right? And so I'm going to pull her down and drop out here. So basically, she's on the medius part of my thigh, and my thigh is on the proximal side of her knee. If I'm on the distal side of her knee, I'm going to torque that knee and hurt her. So I really want to make sure that I'm on the leg joint, I'm not on the lower leg. So proximal side. Now I've got this open. I like to grab the foot, just put body weight here and lean back for traction. Nice traction. I want to see her ear move when I do that. So here, ear's moving, I'm getting good traction there. It's just leaning back. Then I'll come up, I'll come out, and I'll start to work in the thighs. So a little more oil here. I'll start on the surface. I'll start with the fascia, the superior muscles, make sure it's working. And then I'll just get closer and closer down to where I can work deep in here. I can bring her out a little bit, work deep in here. Heavy, elbows. That's one way. Do you have a way you do that?
I would like to bring in, because it was asking for inner thigh and glute work. So you don't necessarily have to do great glute work while they are prone. So you could also do it while they're supine, which is actually one of my favorite ways to do it, because when the body is more in a slack mode and you've got gravity working with you, it's a great opportunity to do some deep work. So there was a question, I forget, forgive me, was it Julia asked about being 5'1"? I'm 5'2". I work on, seriously, NFL players that are like 6'5" and 250 pounds, and they're pure muscle. So I've got to make it work for me as a therapist. It can't hurt me, or I can't keep serving people. So a really great little way to work on the glutes, I find, is once again, I'm going in where there's an access point, an opening. I'm getting nice and low, so I'm not like hurting my lower back. If I was just to lift her leg here, that's a lot of strength and work and efforting on my part. I don't want that. That hurts me as the therapist. So I come low, I pull her leg and just roll it out towards me using that access point and that hinge, that joint. I stand up, she comes up with me. My foot comes onto the table, and once again, I'm just going behind that joint, and it's just sitting really nicely here. So I can actually move her joint by moving me. So I can go in little circles here. She's going in little circles. I use my elbow on the outer edge of her knee, and now I'm just rolling her a little bit away from me. My hand is coming nice and in underneath the glute here. So simply by just like standing up a little, moving her leg away, I've rolled and opened that area. So it's more of that mechanical opening. I slide my hand under, see how my forearm is resting on the table here. And it's just that, like Joe talked about earlier, fingers coming up as a group.
And that's because you're pushing your first knuckles in and they pop up versus using your flexors.
And here I'm just making little circles right in her glute maximus. And did you hear Britta's little we're getting some good client noises here. And it's really, really deep work, and it's not a lot of efforting on my part. I'm actually, it feels really comfortable for me, and and there's not a lot of, I'm not doing a lot of efforting and hard work. And it's a way to have that gravity of the client's weight come down and work for me as the therapist. You can definitely get into piriformis here and here just by like moving my body, I've also would have that access to the inner thigh as well. So I'm always thinking as the smaller, more compact therapist, how it's going to be like, really easy on my body. So in answer to that question about being 5'1", Miss 5'2" here, you can definitely make it work with really long, larger clients. Another thing I would say about that is that there's a little bit of sometimes, control and containment that, you can sometimes get a little bit worried about if I weigh, a little under 130 pounds. So sometimes my clients weigh twice as much as me. So I'm not going to make that work against me. I'm going to make that work that for me. I just want to show here also getting out of moves. It'd be really easy just to like lift your leg up, stick it back down. Doesn't quite feel so yummy. So, instead, I could make a nice V with the leg, have it come up and around in towards the midline, support it underneath the knee, and have it come down. A much nicer way to come out of the move. What other questions we got?
Our work is really similar, and then it's really different in a lot of ways. What I will say is that as a guy and as kind of a guy who's I'm wound pretty tight as a fighter for years and years. And when Tracey works on me, and I'll try to get some of that video or those pictures we have when you worked on me in Copenhagen.
Oh, okay.
But she moves me completely around the table, and I can tell because I'm a therapist, I'm feeling her, and there's no stress in her body. She's just got this perfect way. Time massage. These time massage therapists sometimes are 100 pounds, and they can tap me out like immediately. And it's the same kind of thought of how they get all their weight in this perfect vector coming in, but sitting all of our weight and muscle in our fulcrum in place and moving. So she's tiny, but it's not about strength. If it's about strength, it's probably not a good experience for you or your client.
Yeah.
The other question is, do we worry about a symmetrical focus? So for me, I don't. I worry about the joint I'm on, the body. I don't do a lot of acute injury work because it's not something that I really enjoy or specialize in. I've got therapists I can refer to for that. I'm trying to get this whole human being, body, soul, and spirit in this place that they asked me to put them when they got here. And that doesn't mean me treating this completely asymmetrical person on a micro level and worrying about doing the same thing left, same thing right, because very few people are same left and right. So I'm not very symmetrically focused at all. I don't know. What do you think about that?
So what I would say to that is you're really wanting to listen to your client in the intake. And often the client will come in and be like, up here, neck, shoulders. And I'll be like, is it one side or the other? And I'll actually have them demonstrate to me, like, what's the range of motion in your shoulders? Just so I get a little bit of a read and a feedback right then and there before I've actually started the work. And if they're saying to me like, right-handed, I do a lot of work, right-handed. Britta here is actually left-handed. She makes beautiful, beautiful jewelry. And so she's doing a lot of very fine detail work. So being left-handed, I am gonna read this left side of the body and see what's happening for her. So then I might think I want to do my spinal twist the opposite way to, if she's making jewelry and she's in this forward motion like this, then I might want to open up this left-hand side of the body. So have the spinal twist come from the right side and towards me. So I'm always thinking okay, how can I make this a really nice opening for her? Or if I felt something that, is really tight in her upper traps, rhomboids. Yeah. And then, I would want the spinal twist to come from the other way. But just like Joe said, I might do, a spinal twist from one side and not the other side at all. And same with opening up the whole hip and pelvic girdle. It might be more coming from just one side. And if I've, given her a spinal twist this way, it might be really nice then, because that was from right to left, to then actually do the upper twist from left to right. But once again, it's so individual. It really, really depends on the client. So I am like Joe, I don't necessarily go through a routine where I'm like this side of the body, this side of the body being exactly the same. I'm constantly reading where my client's body is at and getting feedback from them.
One thing she said, so for me, if I'm a treatment therapist, I'm taking measurements every time they come in. I've got a goniometer and I'm going to write this stuff down so that I can tell my client, look how you've improved. And if they haven't improved, I can go get better skills, right? I mean, one of us has to improve. And so you, by showing your client forward progress that's statistical, that you've measured with them, they're going to believe more in the process. They're going to get better. You have a benchmark. So if you're doing treatment therapy, I believe really heavily in getting those old benchmarks. There's now digital goniometers that you can just do it. You put it on their shoulder and you move forward. It records it. It's super easy to do. And you can cheat by doing before and after, but if you just do before and before and before every time, that's the best way to get your numbers, because they come in the same way theoretically. The second question was, how do you support like a degenerative disc? And so this is going to be a long answer for me. Kind of. No, stay here though. And I'm pretty sure Tracey's similar in a way. So the first thing is that like all of the therapists we work with, Travis, Laura, Leanne, everyone, they have just incredible skills when they get here. They know how to do body work. They know leverage. And so I don't want to do anything without having a real good baseline of how do I support this body. So if I'm going to support a neck with degeneration, I want to make sure I can isolate that neck. Like chiropractors and PTs have to isolate the joints specifically to crack the one above it. My wife's a physical therapist, so I go to her classes, learn how to isolate joints so I can support it, not hyper mobilize it. But I'll do something like with the client who's, let's just say that she has an injury and she has frozen shoulder on this shoulder, let's say. And so with that, she as soon as I go like this, her nervous system is like, no, right? So I might do some of the crazy work, like since I know that's okay in stability, I'm going to keep that shut. I'm going to sneak under here. So normally I have it all the way out here doing my thing, but instead of that, I'm going to support it. I'm going to move the joint over, sneak under without challenging her frozen shoulder, get in here. Frozen shoulder still taken care of. I'm going to go fast. I don't want to show the technique here. It's pull over. I'm nice big inhale. I pull over, leg up, World Series pitch. We gently come over. She comes with me, so I go. Shoulder still shut, but she's an active person. So I don't want to convince her that I can open that up. I want to do something to her that she doesn't even know that she can do. So people come in with this big idea of here's what I cannot do. And it's hard to beat that idea. But if I do something crazy with her, get her up and over, do this, bring her off the table, stretch her, just do all sorts of stuff that seems like, oh, that's a nice circus, right? Great show. Besides, this is phenomenal work. It's crazy good. She'll be down here just smiling like, what in the heck? Where am I, right? And so basically what happened is I took her someplace that she didn't know existed. I'd rather cross the belief barrier with that than try to convince her that something she sure won't move. Then I come back and set her down here, got her like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if she's going to let me get my shoulder a little bit. I'm going to come out with it. And what happens is when people's guard is down, frozen shoulder actually gets a lot better for a minute. And so I can maybe get her out here, or I can support the whole shoulder and move the body or something. So I'm trying to buy her belief in this new way. So if she has a degenerative disc in her neck, I want to do stuff with her neck that she's like, I probably can't do, but I want to support her neck. So I'm going to make sure that I want to make sure that I have the back. I want to make sure that I have probably the first two ribs in my fingers here, and I'm going to move her whole body and move all this stuff. Her neck is not doing much. I might go for a little back bend, but really I'm going to push up into her back, and this is going to stay straight and drop. But to her, it's going to feel like it's a bit of a back bend. And so
and Joe's really got her neck supported here. His other hand is on the other side. Like he's making sure that, it's so supported here. So it's not going to flop around at all.
When I move the neck, the body just moves. That's it. Lower lumbar problems. This body roll here, when I come in and do this, let's see here. I'm going to do it this way. I'll do it this way for you guys. Simple thing. So this would be like I'm using the hip, rolling her body, and it's like tick, 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 the lumbar are rotating out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold like L4-5 S1. My fingers are really deep on the other side. My thenar pads here, and I'm going to rotate that. The rest of her body's going to free rotate, but her lumbar that's got bulging discs, I'm going to lock this. So I'm rolling that, and this doesn't change at all. But I give her the idea that she's moving, that she's rotating, but her hips aren't changing position. Her low back is not changing position. So you have to isolate if you want to. I don't want to reinforce the fact that this is broken and can't get better. I want to give her some belief. So therefore I do this in isolation. Otherwise, I just avoid it.
Yeah,
And that's
and something
lousy
that
work.
Joe hasn't named in there, but I'm noticing what he's doing is he's always doing, you know, an opening rather than a contraction. So when he's talking about like the bulging disc in the lower back, he's not doing a move that is going to like compress the vertebrae. He's actually doing a move that's going to move the vertebrae away from each other and give it more space and opening in there. And that's like one of the important parts when your client has a little bit of mobility challenges that you would definitely take into contraindications. If they had a really, really bad bulging disc in their lower back, I might not do some of that, you know, thigh on thigh prone work that Joe showed, because it just might be a little bit too much for their lower back. But once again, it's very individualized. So you would assess it with that client at the time. Yeah, so there was another.
Do you change speed in your massage, or do you try to achieve an overall tempo?
Ooh, I love talking about massages. Really, once again, it's this reading the client's
And then while you're
body.
doing that, they want to see your network too. So once you go to the top of the table.
Dun, 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 dun.
She has the best network in the world, except for probably some of you on here.
Yes, I was going to say, like, let's not
This is
put
a
you
very
on the pedestal. It hurts when you fall off.
Yeah, a lot. All right, so let's get you up here. So answer that question, but I want to get you on your network because your network is just amazing.
You know, I'm really not rushing is the big thing. You know, if I'm going fast, I'm doing this like frantic, like, and sometimes like, you know, that serves a purpose more in like, you know, getting athletes ready for a sports performance can really, you know, get the muscles ready to be like super fired up and activated. However, most of my clients that come to me are wanting a chance and an opportunity to have a little bit of a disconnect from their super busy everyday lives, like which I'm sure we can all relate to. And I'm really trying to tap into their parasympathetic nervous system. It was like Joe was mentioning. So if I'm going really fast, you know, and doing these kind of like more jolty movements, I'm not going to like, you know, really get into that parasympathetic nervous response. So sometimes the tempo will speed up a little bit, and sometimes the tempo will just go more on the slower side. But overall, I am not rushing into the client's bodies because it's not going to feel great at all for them. So once again, I am working underneath the body. So I'm going in where there's an opening right here in the neck. I can get both my hands in there really easy. If I just slide my hands up, now I am underneath the base of the skull. I am pressing my hands into the table, and I can easily just raise my fingers up. The client's head comes up. And it's not, once again, a lot of efforting on my part. I am looking for longevity for myself as a therapist. So I don't want to wear myself out. So doing a lot of efforting in a massage personally doesn't work for me to keep longevity in my career. I want to make this easy on myself. So I am sitting here, my belly is level with the crown of Britta's head. And I also want to make this like, you know, really nice and yummy as well for the client. So it's not going to be as yummy and nice to receive if I'm over here like busy. So sometimes doing less is the better option rather than having this agenda in your head as a therapist going, oh, and she said like her scalenes and her SEM. So I really want to get into all of here and do as much as I can. So sometimes doing as much as you can means doing less because her body then will be able to receive the work and you can actually go deeper without it being sensitive or painful. Transverse processes have to be accounted for in the neck. We've got a lot of nerves, we've got a lot of blood flow up here, brachial plexus, carotid artery. Oh my gosh, so much.
I just told them you got a teachable course coming out, network, right?
Yes.
So
yes, you can go
that's a plug.
to my website, Dynamic Flow Massage, and
We'll send
that will
links.
be, yeah, we'll send links, but that's on there as well. So when I'm underneath the base of the skull, you know, just pushing up with my fingers, you can see how her chin is doing this nice movement. And all I'm doing is these nice, like, upward motions. If you've got a client that likes to help you, there's several different options. You know, Joe before, Bria went to help when he was moving her over, turning her over. And yeah, you can just address it right then and there and say, like, you know, oh, I wanted to do that for you. You can also do a little bit of therapeutic work if you really want to. And for instance, right here, I can say to Britta, if she was like, you know, holding her head up, I could actually say to her, like, okay, let's, you know, I'm just holding here for a moment. That's not, you know, maybe, yeah, hold it up, hold it up, hold it up. And we're just going to, like, you know, help you there. And now we're going to take a big deep breath and make your head really heavy. And they've actually, like, you know, because they've had to put in an effort there, they're more likely to then relax and go into that heavier state in their body. So I like to, yeah, not go into a place of shaming my client at all for helping me, but rather do more of a Aikido, go into that place with them. For instance, like, you know, sometimes you'll have people who make your arm really nice and stiff and hold it up, hold their arm out for you. And I might say to them, like, oh, this is really, really great. So I'm going to push against your forearm here and push against me as hard as you can. 1 and 2 and 3, make it nice and heavy. There we go. That's actually one of my, like, you know, little tricks that I don't usually teach in classes. But it's really, really nice if you do have a client that is a helper and wants to help you. You know, it's a nice way to get them to transition into that more relaxation, parasympathetic nervous system place.
Are we lovers? Someone else if we're lovers. We have great chemistry.
What was that?
Someone asked if we're lovers and we have great chemistry.
Oh my gosh, no, Joe is married. And I love his wife. She's awesome. But I love Joe too. But no, we are very, very dear friends and colleagues.
Yeah. So keep your network. I want to talk about the speed thing. So first time someone said, can we do this with any kind of massage? Right? Was the question. And for me personally, like everything that I teach so that you can take it, own it, do it, make it work on your massage. And I think everything can work on almost any massage. So you're free to use all the techniques I show, change them, send them back to me better. I'll make my stuff better when you show me that. But what I think is important is that from the time that I start a massage, actually from the time they walk in the door, there's a narrative that's going on between me and my client and between our nervous systems and probably deeper systems. And I want that narrative to stay the same from the minute they open that door to the minute I send them out the door. My first touch on the body is pretty much the same touch I'm going to use all the way through. It's the same tempo, rhythm, intention. And I find that when I do that, my clients relax like really fast. Like they get it. And I tell them I have a 4-page intake. I ask them all these questions. I know who they think they are on the table. I know how they might orient around my massage. And I'm going to set that up for my first touch to be where I want it to end. I think the disservice is when you do one thing slow and then one thing fast and you have one great trick maneuver and they don't fit, your client's nervous system, in my opinion, just doesn't have the capacity to normalize all that and then try to heal itself. And so I'm big on, I'm just slow because that's what I go. But you don't have to be slow. It's not your style. But I really think if you focus on that narrative being the same and checking in and making sure whenever something doesn't feel like it's responded to right, that you ask a question or ask later so you can really serve your client. So that's big for me. I hope that makes sense. They just said, what about transitions in and out of sideline?
They're fantastic. Use them as much as you can.
Not that one. We do.
Yeah.
We do. So I love sideline work. And what I'll do, I'll probably show it on this side. I have a big long freedom stretch, I think. So I'm working, I'm below the rib cage. I'm not going to the side. I'm not going to teach you someone to show it, but I come up. I'm really heavy here. I'm pushing off the face, opening things up, pushing up and in. So I have all this kind of opening of this shoulder here. And so now I'm going to switch sides and show you where I end up here. And so without like a reason to tell my client, hey, we're going sideline, we're coming back, right? I just want to take her there as part of the massage. After this big coming up thing here, I'll come over, I'll fold the arm over. It might be here, might be up here. Here is if it's new client, I don't want to challenge them here. If I want to challenge them, I put it up high. I'm just going to roll them. So I'm just going to palm and hold right here. So the shoulder starts going, and I'm going to stand up, and she's going to roll to the side. Okay, so we're in sideline now. I get behind her. I use my thigh to support her again, so I don't have a hand in the mix.
And so also she doesn't roll back.
Yeah, she doesn't roll back. And what I'll probably do is I might let that go in right here, but I'm just going to take this top leg and just bring it over. Now we're in sideline. Do all my sideline work.
And did you see how Joe moved from underneath the hinge, so underneath the knee, and he went underneath the joint?
And so I'll do work there and I'll come out. But I do a lot of work here. I would say this for people. There's so much value in self-learning. There's so much value in like watching this video and that video, but then going and trying it before, like you go to a class and let someone tell you how it's supposed to be done. Can you push that notch up? Just point that arrow up just a couple of times. Just get my face in there, talking to my neck. Yep, up, boom. Look at that. Oh, you are a professional camera operator. So what I would say is I want to play around with stuff. So what I might do to learn how to move the body around, I'd get a buddy, friend, who can wear something like this, who doesn't care if you poke them in the nose or the eye, who are your buddies. And I would try to figure out how the body moves. And so what I would say is I want to know how the leg moves. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to push this. Does the leg move? That doesn't really work, but that works, right? This pulls her body over here. And I would try to like spend a couple of days just playing with the body and moving it around and figuring out how can I challenge a body? Right? And ask, hey Bob, is that good or is that terrible? And Bob's like, that is terrible. So it doesn't mean it's bad for everybody, but it's bad for Bob. But I want levers where I can get things done easy. And I can't do that by learning somebody teaching me a technique, because that's just a technique. I want to understand why that technique worked and how the body works. So I'm big into just playing around. We were playing around yesterday. Tracey made the move. We took a video and we played around for an hour, and she just created the move, just playing around. And so there's just value in that versus like, how do I do this? How do I do that? So yeah, in and out of sideline, just try it a couple times. If you have a client who's an awesome client, say, hey, can I try something on you? I learned last week, and if it's bad, don't Yelp me or don't Google review me. You'll get a review. It's probably good, and they'll be like, yeah, see, she's smiling because I do it to her all the time. And then you try it on them. How is that? And they love that. So I'm always constantly trying to expand my skill set. I'm always learning. I'm always trying new things, repeating old things, watching your videos probably and trying something new. But I tried them more than I asked somebody if they're right? Like, if that makes sense. I just think learning on your own and trying to work the body out is the best way you can learn the body, in my mind.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Love the use of the forearm with the neck work. David is asking if there's time, could you show approaching glutes and psoas from leg over position?
Oh yeah, that's you.
That's me. So I use this move probably on every client. It's a move that came from a little bit of Thai massage background and also phenomenal touch. It's a great one to use to accessing without a lot of efforting once again. So whichever leg I want to be the top leg is going to be on the opposite side of the body to me. So once again, and here I've got her in this really nice position. You might notice that, like, you know, this bottom leg is sliding over and off towards the table. Boop. Now she's on the table. I can turn my butt and give her a nice stretch. But what David was asking was glutes and the inner thigh work, right?
Go with it. I can't see from here.
So I do have really nice access to the glutes right here. And I'm just standing here, like, you know, comfy. Yeah. And she's nice and comfortable. I've got her in a stretch, but I also don't have her, like, you know, over extended. So, and her leg is just sitting nicely on the top of my hip, my waist here. Yeah, so one of the things I could do, I could, you know, once again, place my arm on the table, use it as a lever, have my fingers come up, and I'm just rolling her back now. And this is so easy on my part. I am hinging at my hips, so it's not stress on my back at all. In fact, I'm getting some nice stretches in here that help me to, you know, get through my days of, sometimes getting 4 or 5 hours of body work in one day. It helps keep my body open. Yeah, so I could, you know, get into the glutes right here as well. And then I could just step down towards her feet a little. That opens her up in her mid body. So this gives me an opportunity here to use bony landmarks. So, and I'm coming in right on the attachment points here. So I can get into iliacus. And I'll roll her over so you can just see I've got my thumb right on the attachment points right in here. I could ask her to take a nice big deep breath in. And out we go. And now I'm all the way down into psoas right here. And I've done it in a way that Joe was talking about earlier, where I've introduced the deeper work in a softer, gentler way. And there's a lot of opportunity to do that in this work, where, you know, you're not jolting the client's nervous system. So then, you know, their muscles end up kicking you out. You're wanting to do this in a way that, you know, that they can receive and get like a lot of benefit for. So I've got the whole tummy is slack in this position. So I'm going to quickly change sides so that you can see on this side. So once again, I'm just watch the oil bottle. Hopping in right here. Her leg is on my waist, and I've got this whole tummy area and abdominals here to work on. So it's a really great position because I can do a lot of really deep here because her tummy isn't in that extended position. I've got a lot of slackness to the belly here. So I could ask her to take a nice deep breath in. And then as she breathes out, I can go in super deep here. And making sure I'm letting her breathe. Following her breath. Yeah, so a lot of really great opportunity there because I have all this opportunity here. I've got like another opportunity right down here for inner thigh work. So I could completely use this to my advantage. I am just standing here. It's really comfortable for me. So I have all of this inner thigh area to work on again. I can come up here again, nice chest work. I could even do some nice neck traction. I could hook elbows. Just giving a little bit more mobility into the shoulder joint. At the same time, I'm getting this in a really nice stretch. And it's really not a lot of efforting. Because I'm just 5'2", like sometimes, like, you know, I'm not going to reach all the way up to the client's head. So I can with her, but I might not do that with everyone. It's always nice to put some nurturing, loving touches in there as well that are appropriate.
All right, let's talk about draping for a minute, because that question has come up.
Oh, okay.
And so the question is, do you prefer draping full drape, loamy drape, Rolfing style drape? And I do all, and I would say that my preference is to drape in the way that the client feels most comfortable. And I just don't care. Some clients will come in, and in our state, breast and chest massage is part of our compact. And I do a lot of that. Probably 90% of my clients get that, male and female. But some clients come in and they say, you can choose your draping style at my intake, and I'll send you guys my intake so you see it. And somebody will say, I want to be as undraped as possible, just a loamy towel. And I'll work on them, and I'll see them kind of reaching for a drape. So in their mind, they thought they wanted to be very open, but the nervous system says no. And so I'll cover them up, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just letting your nervous system catch up with your mind. So it's all about what the client wants. But again, this narrative, I feel like your draping should be the same narrative. So we've got this super yummy, flowing, but really challenging work. And so I don't want to stop and then start trying to futz around with draping mechanically. So whatever you're working out, for me, what I would do is I would get a friend and I would get a video and make sure that they have a bathing suit on or something. And I would try doing the work you want to do and draping them as elegantly as possible and seeing what works and doesn't work. It's not just visual. Like if you whoosh down here and air shoots up the under the sheet to your client, they feel it exposed, right? So as a guy, if you have too light of a drape on me, I feel like my genitals are exposed. I just don't feel enough pressure on it. So I might put something extra there. I ask clients, how's the modesty? How are you feeling? A lot, because it's such something that we don't talk about a lot. But I would say that for me, draping is super important. Let's just say that I am working on a client and I'm going to do chest and breast work, even though she's consented to full chest and breast work with no bra and no cover. And I have a pulled rib. What I want to say about the chest and breast work, when I teach that class, I say it's not about the breasts per se. It's about having access and the abilities to do work around them, and the client not caring if you access them. And so a lot of the breast work that we do is just really good upper thorax work without the worry about hitting some breast tissue. But our clients have to sign off verbally, and they have to sign off in writing for us to do that. But if I was doing the work and I'm going to go into the chest and breast work with my client, I'd probably have them drape something like this. I'm doing the work, and my first run is going to be over the drape. I'm going to come down, I'm going to push in. I do some chest and breast work over, some under with it draped, and some without a drape. But even if it's going to be without a drape, I'm going to kind of start real conservative, see how the clients are really going to take an assessment of how they're orienting towards that touch. Earlier, when I kind of jumped in too early, when I was showing you guys something, she just totally clenched up, and I would back way out after that. And then I'll come under, and I'll my first work on chest and breast work, so I'll come all the way through, hardly any breast contact, and I'm coming all the way through, grabbing back in the traps and coming back through, and making sure my client orients to that well. And if they don't, I'm gonna come out and maybe talk to them, maybe not, but I'm not gonna go with what they thought they wanted as far as being less modest. So I'm always going for the client likes and the most comfort, and I don't really care. Another thing about, like, if you're stretching people, I'll interview therapists, they'll come in and they're trying to show off because they're interviewing for a job or something. And they'll feel like I'm at 90% and I'm like at 5%. And they don't ask, they don't check in for some reason, and I don't get that. So even, at least in my practice sessions, and I'm up here, I would go, how challenging is that?
Not very.
Not very. Like 1 to 100, what's the most? I do this. This is an extreme kind of move. I work on a lot of very interesting athletic people and dancers and Britas and stuff like that. And I want to challenge them while I do good work. So something I started doing this year was coming under, getting the crook of my elbow and the crook of the knee, coming up, getting this big stretch in while I pull the trap. Okay? And for some people, that's super challenging. For Britta, it's probably not that challenging. That's a little challenging there. And I pull, and they're challenging. They can't really focus on one or the other. And I'm going for the one that's probably the more sensitive to get into. But I can come and do anterior leg work, push around. But I want to say, like, okay, 1 to 100, what discomfort, where are you at?
Not terribly
Okay, so then I can step forward, right? A lot of times you think you're hurting them, and you're just not. And so then they get off the table and go, I don't know, the guy stretched me, but he didn't really stretch me, so it wasn't that good. Or if you go, man, that guy stretched me to 90%. Have we 90% yet? You want to go a little more?
A little more.
A little more?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Can I speak breath for me? And then do something wonderful. I don't know. But if you're going to challenge them, make sure you challenge them. A lot of people come in and say, wow, people stretch me, but they don't stretch me like that. The other thing is I don't want to blow by them. So by checking in a lot, then I will make sure that I get up to that 95% of their soft movement, and then I don't blow past it. So just that on that.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm going to show one other thing because it's a leveraged work class that I like to do. Some places have rules like you have to keep one foot on the table in the States, other stuff. So if you can't do this in your studio, your state, your country, just know that in some countries you can get on the table, some countries you can't. I'd have her drape like this. And besides Tracey's network, which is awesome and doesn't use your digits all that much, she's all super powerful, but she's using better muscles and better joints. If I've got a really, really tight neck, I don't want to work up into it. I'm going to work differently. So I'll just make sure that if I'm draping, I've got a drape here that I can access. When I was learning this, creating it, I used to wrap it around my pinky. So when I come under the neck, it's there. I don't really do that as much anymore. I just want it there. I let her know that you've got the draping here, so you've got control of that if it falls, okay? So let me know. Mm-hmm. I'm going to push her up to sitting, and I'll let her know I'm pushing her up to sitting. Let me know if anything gets charged up on the way up there. But I love this sitting up neck work. If you've got a really thick, not that you're thick, really thick person on your table and you want an easy way to do it, I'll teach it differently. I'm going to come under her neck. Her neck's going to be in the crook of both of these webs here. So I come all the way under. So her spine is sitting right there. And then push, do something. Then all the way under. And I'm going to put my arms straight and just stand up. And if she doesn't move,
show forearms on the table. Too.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit if she doesn't move, right? And it's all levers. So I'm dropping my butt down so that my forearms create a lever, and then I'm gonna squat and stand up. If that makes sense. So nice deep inhale. So I'm down, lever, big breath, and I just step. Then what I'll do is take this and tie it around somewhere. Get in there. And then you can do crisscross applesauce, straight legs, whatever makes you comfy. She's pretty tall, so I have a short thorax compared to her, but I still can get above this and do some really nice flow. She purred again, flowing work. And I'm not using the leg arm, I'm using parts of the arm, not just the elbow bump, the process there. So I can push through. I can use my tummy to push in and pull back. I can open that area up. I can hot rock in here, right? All this stuff that just keeps my digits and fingers from getting hurt. There's a lot of cool stuff. I can undulate, and my hips and my body are helping out with this. So I'm really making sure it's not just my muscles. I can watch the draping, come under, grab the pec, pull, and just play with it. It's a great place to kind of figure stuff out. If I was really short, I might have to stand up for this just to get a little higher orientation and drop it down. If I was really tall, I'd have to come off my knees and either come flat if your knees are okay doing that, or sit down so that I'm close. So everyone's torso is going to be something different. But there's a lot of great work up here, a lot of great stretches up here, just leaning over the body. I've got videos somewhere online with this work, but what you want to try and do is do work that's meaningful and profound, at least I do, and it's not exhausting or hurting you. Mm-hmm. So I like that leveraged neck work. A lot of stuff you can do up here, so I wanted to show that real quick. We're going to lay her down. I like the traction. Lay her down like that.
Joe brought up a really good thing with the network there about working from different angles. Personally, one of my favorite angles is actually working from, I'm facing the client's head and working on their neck from this angle. A lot of neck work is done from behind or at the top of the client. So it's like, just gives you more of that multi-dimensional aspect to come in from a completely different angle. So once again, I would actually be part of me would be on the table for, so I'm not efforting and I'm not, straining my own back. But if I was just here on the table with the client, it's very easy for me then to work on her neck, without it being a lot of efforting on my part. I'm, coming in at a different angle. So I will have a little bit of a different, approach here to working on some attachment points, to especially working on the scalenes from this angle. I can come down here, attachment points along the clavicle. I can work on pecs as well. And it's just really nice to change the angle that you're approaching that area of the body with, so that you can have more of that multi-dimensional approach. Because sometimes, you can, work and work and work, and you'll be like on one angle of the body, and you just can't, feel the client's muscles responding to that angle. So it's really nice, like Joe said, then you could set them up. You've got a different angle there. You can come from the front of the body and have a little bit of a different angle here. Another thing that, I really noticed when I stepped up was that Britta's legs are in this really nice, hip opening position. So taking advantage of how your client, has landed, and she's landed right here. So exactly, I would do exactly what Joe's doing right now. Just, push the legs up and take advantage of where your client has landed. She's already in that nice hip opening, get a nice lower back stretch there. Yeah, so go with it. It's more of that Aikido philosophy, once again, stepping into the place where your client is at, rather than being like, oh no, her hips are open, I've got to get her legs straight again. Yeah.
I used to, because I get clients in a lot of weird spots, and I used to go fix them. Now I just I don't fix them unless I really feel like it needs to be fixed. They lay there and they're comfy and they stay more relaxed. So I agree with that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the tapping one that you
asked? So the tapping, I guess I use the tapping metaphor in two ways. So one way, I'll show you the second way. So let's say I'm doing I'm going to have you scoot your hips towards me. Can you move your head where it's at? Can you hips all the way towards me? All the way. Keep going a little more. Keep going. Yeah, perfect. Good. So I do this thing where I've got a leg off the table, and I'm using it to really get into the psoas and stuff like that. And then I get my client back. And so if I got a really, again, a linebacker, it's hard to get the back. I may not want to lift them back. So one way I use tapping is as a suggestion. When I'm done, I bring her up here, and I kind of go like I'm going to move her back, right? As I move back, I just kind of tap her a couple of times, and she'll move herself back. So I go here, I just kind of tap, and they just kind of know that. So she won't. She's just lazy. She's sitting there. But some people will move. So if I'm trying to lift their neck up and I can't get them up, I just kind of tap them, and they go, oh, and they'll come up. But the other one, can you flip real quick for me? Oh yeah, maybe great. Okay. So this tap on the knee thing, let me see here. Let me do, okay, you can see it up here. So what I'm talking about is this tap it's more like if I grab this knee and start trying to wrench it, and I got my hand around it, it's just all kinds of wrong in my mind for me, for my nervous system getting too excited, trying to pick her up, might get something nervy. But if I just want to move something and I just kind of go light touch, right? I'm just light touch it out versus any type of gripping, flexing. That's what my taps are. So I'm trying to make sure that when I want to move my client, that I know where the body's going to go. And again, if I push in here, nothing happens. But if I just come up a little bit, she shifts, or same thing here. And this might be with a bigger client. I might go with that tap, let them know that I'm coming here. And it might be a signal like, okay, 1, 2, okay, here we go. And they might give me a tiny help if I should give me help there if I need it. So again, if I'm moving a linebacker, I don't want to be a hero. I want to last for my next client. So I use it kind of like a suggestion in the nervous system to kind of move on. Make sure I'm not working too hard. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else? It's been great questions. Thank you. They make the class go along. How you doing?
Good.
Okay, good. So we'll make sure and send you guys a follow-up email. We're going to try and shoot some more videos here today or tomorrow with a couple of techniques to get them out to you. And then I'll give you Tracey's email and mine, and you can just ask any questions you want. We're open. Got something?
Yes. What kind of oil is Tracey using, and how thick is your topper? You can answer that.
So I like 2-inch toppers. So there's memory foam that you buy, like I don't know, in the States of Costco, and you buy these pre-made mattresses, and when you put your hand in it, there's a memory and it stays for a while. I don't like that kind of memory foam. I like memory foam that's like 2 inches thick and is actually from a foam shop, to where you put in and it'll decrease, and as soon as you leave, it comes back to normal. Because otherwise, you've got these just weird spots on the table. So I use 2-inch memory foam, or the bamboo, the new bamboo foam mattresses. They have that nice spring back, right? So that's the size of foam I use. Just right. Yep, it's under everything.
Lots of layers.
So it's right there. I cut it myself, you can see. So it's nice, but it pops right back. And for me, that's important for my work. It's also important that when I push my client to the table, they feel the table, because I'm doing a lot of deep work. I don't want the sponge to go on forever. Otherwise, it's kind of working against myself. So this foam collapses pretty good, even though it's got nice support.
And then the oil that I am using, this is from a colleague who has Saga Bodywork. You'll see it on the bottom there. It is a coconut oil and Hawaiian beeswax mix. Sometimes I might put a little bit of like sunflower oil in there. But yeah, like, you know, Joe likes the shea butter. Just something with like a little bit more grip to it is really, really nice to use. So you're not just gliding over the top of the muscles. You're able to like really engage in the belly of the muscles by having that little bit of grip in whatever lotion that you use. Sometimes it is nice to have a little bit of oil handy when you do want to glide more over the body. But yeah, that is my preferred lotion oil at this time. And it smells really, really nice. Yeah.
And I use whatever my balm is, and then an oil. I don't use it very much, but there's times when I need it. I'm glad, so I have both in my belt. Just kind of how I get things done.
And it is like, you know, really nice for flow to have a holster on. You'll notice like Joe and I both do sometimes a little bit of adjusting to one side or the other when we're moving the client around. Once again, that's really, really nice if you've got a family member or friends and you ask them if you can just, you know, try new things on them, because it gives you like all those little nuances. I know I did a lot of that when I first started moving the client around. Hi. And yeah, and it was really great, especially for the draping as well. One of the things that's important with draping is sometimes you can definitely wrap your client up in the drape accidentally from moving them all around. And, you know, here's a really good example. If I was to come underneath the body, move her up, lay her over, and I pinned the drape underneath her. So if I was just to like, you know, turn her over from this side, the drape is going to end up underneath Britta and not be of service to any draping from that point onwards. So it's really nice to just like, you know, have that opportunity with friends and family, so that you can work out like where the drape will get pinned, where it won't get pinned, where you need to move it to in order for it not to end up in this place where you're like, oh, I wrapped my client up like a mummy right now. Yeah, so just having that like, you know, opportunity with friends and family is really, really awesome to practice. And then when you have paying clients, yeah, not to have that situation happen. Though I will say that clients often don't know what you were thinking with moving the body around or where the drape is. So if it does get pinned, or for instance, if I was to come underneath Britta's shoulder over here and my hand was to get stuck, rather than like, you know, pinching underneath the body and like keep going, she doesn't know that I was actually going to go underneath and over to the other side of her body.
Yeah.
I would actually just like Joe said, come back out. So you're not giving them that, you know, opportunity to like rise back out of their parasympathetic nervous response. Like, you know, we want them to stay in there. So if it is getting a little pinchy or you feel a little stuck, just come back out. maybe grab a little bit more lubrication so that the next time you came in, here we go, nice and smooth. Yeah.
How do you help your clients with wrist and forearm tension? Yeah, speaking of.
And we as therapists can sometimes have that. So, you know, I am often like Joe, working on a couple of different places on the body at one particular time. You know, it can be a really great way to have the body open up in more than one place at a time. You can definitely just do some hand and forearm body work right here. Nice little waves. Nice little traction in the hand here. But, you know, once again, I could think a little outside the box here. I could come up. My skeleton is underneath Britta's skeleton right now. I have laced her hand fingers with mine. And then I have a lot of opportunities here. I can give her some really nice traction on her arm, pressing on her sternum, pulling out on her fingers and her arm. I can do a lot of really nice, like, you know, intricate work here. I'm pressing with my thumb to all those little metacarpal bones in here, giving them some nice space. I'm giving some nice like opportunity for the wrist here as well. And I could simply be doing that as well while I'm actually like working over here on the neck as well. So this could be nicely going in little circles over here. So giving a nice little massage over here at the same time as I could be working on this side of the neck. So I just want to encourage you guys to, yeah, think a little bit more outside the box than, sure, it would be really great and would feel really good to work this area all just here, but why not use other opportunities?
Let me show you a couple things I like with that too. And again, same with Tracey. Couple different things. When you're doing multiple things at one time, the nervous system cannot focus on all those, and so it's got to give up somewhere. So it's just effective work. So if I'm doing something up the belly, a lot of time we forget the extensors and stuff. And so when I'm coming up here and working in here, I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to come up and I'm going to be really heavy in there. Come over, come up, pull, right? Make it part of my flow. I'm constantly coming in. So the whole massage, I'm actually, especially with Britta or a massage therapist, I'm going for these things. So there's a lot of that in the work coming up. I have people that work with a lot of UFC fighters, and they just spend their entire day grabbing a gi, and these muscles are like, they're just crazy big. And I will actually come into there when I'm doing something, and I will come down with that, and she purred with that, and I can do something here. So I just got a lot of different things I'll do.
Can you show that from this side? So Joe was actually using his leg here at the same time that he was also up here.
And especially, this is the other thing, if it is really biting work, and it's like, so if I'm going down here and I know it's really going to be heavy work, I'm doing something kind of fun, face mushy, so it's just a little bit offsetting. And if you want to turn over real quick for me, this is probably one of the things I do. It's the most basic, but you forget how good it is. Oh my gosh! So when I'm going down and up the body with a loamy flow, I'll come down and you're okay. I'm pressing here, and this hand is going to come out down the forearm. Can you see? Sorry. So I'm careful on the elbow. A little bit of pressure here, not much. But I get in the forearm. I'm going to push so those fingers come back to me. I'm going to go all the way through, and then my forearm and elbow are going to come through. As I go onto the hip with the hand, my elbow comes through and really comes down the flexors. And when I get to the wrist carpals, I stay super heavy unless the client says there's something going on. But I'm looking for a soft mobilization, soft release in there, here, and then I'm going on. And I do that 20, 30 times down the table. So I try to include a lot of my forearm work. I could come out and, do something out here by itself. But I'd rather get the work done with my other work because it's just free and I get a lot of stuff done that way.
Yay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I said it on there, but again, I just want to thank Yeppe for all the great stuff he's doing for massage. I kind of think that Stace is the last one to catch up with all of you guys internationally. So we're trying over here slowly, but we love being involved with everyone on the other side of the pond, and we're easy to catch.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Your, most precious non-renewable resource in my books. So thank you for choosing to spend these last 2 hours with us. And hopefully we have inspired you a little bit. And we'll be sending out some follow-up information.
That's it. Thank you all so much. Take care. Thank you, Yeppe. Thank you, Robbie.
Yes.
Talk to you all soon.
Okay. Bye.